There's no new episode of Love Island Games tonight, but lucky for you, my name's Brooke. I'm a mental health therapist who loves reality TV, and I also love to analyze reality TV, so come grab a snack and listen to my TED Talk. My first point is called Don't Talk About the Money. As we all know, in regular Love Island, if you talk about wanting to win the money, you are villainized. There was someone who talked about wanting to win the money last season of Love Island. I genuinely cannot remember who it was, and they were crucified on social media. However, on Love Island Games, it is encouraged, love and money. Host Ariana Madix talks about it every single episode. She says, remember, you are here to win X amount of money. So I think towards later episodes, that's why we're seeing so much brutality and alliances and separation in the villa, because that driving factor of winning that money is driving the competition aspect, which is good TV. It's good reality TV, obviously, but we don't see it as much in Love Island. We see more of like behind the scenes emotional manipulation that's more on the down low. So it's a very interesting parallel. But yes, don't talk about the money here. Talk about the money, talk about gameplay, talk about alliances here. And if you don't, it's kind of weird. This is a point that has been keeping me up at night, because Love Island Games, we already know the Islanders, right? Like, we know their backstories to an extent. We're rebriefed on them in their intros. However, when we met Huda and last season, her being a mommy was pretty much like the entire storyline. Like, she couldn't do X, Y, and Z because she's a mommy. She's acting like X, Y, and Z because she's a mommy, whatever. Johnny Middlebrooks is a father. I don't know if you know that, but he mentions it maybe one solitary time the entire season of Love Island Games. I don't think he was a father on his regular Love Island season, and he might have been last year on, I think he was on Games Again, or was it All Stars? I don't remember. But he mentions it one time this season. Her whole entire storyline was about being a mommy. People still talk about it. So I think there's a lot of gender role differences that happen in Love Island, but especially we're seeing on Love Island versus Love Island Games. And I think that has to do with the fact that we just don't see the backstories, and they're not as obvious and pushed onto us, because it's really about the games and the tactics and winning the money. So very, very different here. Two extremely different parallels again. Next point I want to make is mind games versus physical games. If you watched Love Island UK this previous season with Tony and Harry and Shakira and all of those people, you might have seen a lot of emotional manipulation going on in that villa, so much so that the UK public had to put out a PSA to women saying, like, this is not normal, and if you're experiencing this, leave the relationship. So that is an unspoken kind of factor, driving factor in Love Island. And that's just not UK, that's US too, always. That's every franchise. In Love Island Games, it's more of a physical game. However, that emotional, physical manipulation is more outspoken. People are not shy about it. They're actually bringing that to the forefront because they want to win the money, because it's so pushed in their face that you should be here for love, but also to win the money. And this one is just about love. So Tyreek on his season, he absolutely mistreated Ella, 100%. But he was more of a likable character because he wasn't being as forward and wasn't really like saying what he was thinking, I guess. And on this season, he's like to Josh, like, go home, go be with Chris and Kendall, right? And that makes us as viewers not like him. I think that's always how he thinks. He's just sharing it more now because it's so obvious that he's not here for love. I mean, he even said he was playing Justine. So really obviously every slide is about parallels, but really mind games versus physical games. This is another one that keeps me up at night, but here we have Andrea. On her season, she was with Rob. She stole Rob. It was the Rob versus Leah versus Andrea. When she got out of the villa and off the island, she was bullied brutally. Like, up until, I would say she was even bullied so badly up until like maybe halfway through games this season. I will admit, like, I never bully any woman. I've never left a mean comment. None of that. But I will admit, like, she wasn't my favorite person after that season because I saw her in the light the producers chose to show her in. However, on games, even though we don't get as much as the backstory, we do know the players, like I said. So knowing her, I think there was a lot of room for growth. And now I've noticed that she's come out of the villa and she's getting a lot of love. And I love her too now. Like, I'm like, yes, like, she's great. I'm a stan. Absolutely. So the villa, we set a reputation. Love Island Games could be a reputation redemption, or it could be ruin. So here we have Gabby. So Gabby won her UK season of All Stars. She won with Casey, who she came in with on games. I liked Gabby on UK All Stars. If I could have voted in the UK, I would have voted for her. I really liked her. I found her to be very genuine. However, when she came into games on this season and immediately went for Johnny, who I would say probably 99% of the population thinks is a villain and doesn't like him, and was there very clearly stating she was there for the money, which was obvious because you came in with your ex-boyfriend and you had just won your season, so we know that you just won a large amount of money. It lost some aura points for me, okay? It gave me like an icky feeling for her. I'm like, I just don't really like her anymore. So much so that I even think I unfollowed her on social media. Did not leave a mean comment, don't do that, but I did unfollow her because I'm like, nah, I'm good. So there's a really interesting dynamic here that games could really up your reputation or it could really lower your reputation. And I just think there's a lot to be said there. Why does any of this matter? It probably doesn't in the grand scheme of things. However, I think that on a large stage, reality TV does sometimes mimic a lot of the things that we face in our normal everyday lives, like gender roles, manipulation, relationship dynamics, social media, images, things like that. So I think, just looking at the differences between the two franchises and how different they are is so fascinating to me, especially as a therapist, because it's just like your everyday personality put on this pedestal, shine a light on, and yes, they could be playing it up, and yes, they could be more dramatic, but at the end of the day, these are real people, and this is not a scripted show, so it is so fascinating to me. The psychology of it all just speaks to the social dynamics, the gameplay, the gender differences, everything that I just mentioned previously, and if you're watching this video and you thought of any other points that came to mind, please share them in the comments below because I'd be so curious to see what you guys picked out from the differences between the franchises or even just watching reality TV in general. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. If you enjoyed, my name's Brooke. I am a licensed mental health therapist. Mostly on here, I post beauty videos because that is my passion, but I also talk about therapy from time to time. I'm a huge reality TV show lover, and I'm also a foodie and a fashion lover, so if you enjoyed this content, go ahead and give me a follow, save this video, share it with a friend, and let me know what you'd like to see more of. Thanks for watching.